I swear, week by week, I feel like I'm learning something new about how the world works and who the characters are, and then that's immediately followed by me going wait, hang on, so sorry, run that by me again. This show answers one question, then gives you like a million more in the best possible way. With that said, hello everybody, welcome back to our weekly ReZero Season 2 discussion video. Today we're here to talk all about Episode 10, I Know Hell. But before we get into things, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to hit that subscribe button, and if you've already hit that sub button, maybe consider hitting that join button, that'd be super appreciated too. Without further ado though, let's go ahead and get into this. So there's a number of things that I want to get into this week. Most of it is probably going to be about Ryuzu and everything going on with her. But I also want to talk a lot about Garfiel. I think Lasagna Boy is hella interesting this week. I feel like we really are starting to peel back the layers on who he is as a character. We also got to talk about Satella, because that's a thing that happened. And we also got to talk about Subaru's new plan, which I'll admit, at first I was like, that seems like a bad plan. But turns out, actually, kind of a smart plan. Let's actually go ahead and start with Garf, though. I think Garf is more interesting of a character than I had initially anticipated. So when we see him this week, he's like, Subaru is basically saying that he'll act as bait to get Satella away from Garf, and Garf's like, if you even, he doesn't even get to finish that sentence before Garf says, if you even so much as think about suggesting that, I'm gonna tear your nose off, right? He says something like that, like I'll tear your arm off, or something like that. And he is just you could tell he's like, nobody else is dying. I'm not letting anybody else go down. Absolutely not. If I can't defend this place myself, then what's the point of me even being here? And Garf does attempt to take Satella down. But unfortunately, my boy gets, ripped in pieces. He literally gets ripped, R.I.P'd, into pieces, rip in pieces, my dude. It was you don't see it happen. You see all of these weird shadow tendril things go into him, a bunch of them go into him, and then you hear him scream, and then you hear a tearing noise, and then you just see pouring blood, and you're like, oh no. That did not go well. That did not go the way I think Garf had anticipated, because there was seemingly a plan here. Garf did seem to intend to use the Ryuzu clones, who finally make a proper appearance. I think all of us sort of knew something was up with Ryuzu, but we weren't super sure what it was up until now. But yes, it appears as though there is clones of Ryuzu, all wearing the white garb as opposed to Ryuzu's black and pink. And basically, he just says, you don't got to worry about them. They're just shells. And we're going to use them as, a full, assault on this crazy-ass witch. We're going to use it on the Witch of Envy. We're going to take it out. We're going to use them just to kind of bash through the shadow, which does not work. They basically all get eliminated, which leads to Garf dying. But I do think this shows who Garf is. He's willing to put his life on the line to protect Sanctuary and to protect his home. And I think ultimately that's the biggest takeaway from Garf as a character. As Subaru says later, he's actually kind of easy to read. Garf definitely plays things close to the chest. At least he tries to, he has secrets. And Subaru even says, I know you're keeping things from me, but know that I will figure them out. Subaru isn't necessarily willing to let Garf think that he can hide things from him. And, even when he has him pinned up against a tree, Subaru's just kind of smirking at him. And Garf's like, why the hell are you smirking at me? Why are you smiling at me? What do you know that I don't, right? And Subaru's like, you're so easy to read, man. I know what makes you tick. I know, what to say, where to push in order to get you to do what I need you to do. And, of course, Garf isn't exactly taking that line down. Lasagna Boy is hella pissed by this. But yes, Subaru just says, you have secrets, I'm gonna figure them out. Because, again, you're easy to read. You're like an open book. And to me, I think it's, I definitely think there's truth to that. I don't know what, Lasagna Boy is hiding. But I do know that he is a pretty, at least on the surface, a seemingly simple but effective character, you kind of know everything there is to know about Garf the instant you see him. We went into his color design a while ago. And honestly, a lot of that I think holds up. Like, that is his character. But he also has this incredibly, like, he is solely focused on Sanctuary. He wants to protect Bilma, his Ryuzu, the one that we know, and he wants to protect his home. He wants to keep Sanctuary safe. He doesn't really give a damn about anybody outside of Sanctuary. He is very much just focused on protecting this little village. Like, that's what he's always done. That's what he will continue to do. And we see that he has seemingly some control over the extra Ryuzus running around, right? He has seeming control over them because he actually barks the order to, like, charge at Satella, and it works out. So clearly, our boy has taken the trial, or at least undergone parts of the trial, and is apparently seemingly an apostle of greed, which is something we'll have to get into in just a bit. I really like Garf, like, a lot. I think of the new characters, because Otto don't count as a new character. Of the new characters, he's easily probably my favorite. Like, I really, really like Lasagna Boy a hell of a lot. We even get a nice little moment where he, like, shows genuine remorse in, like, the first timeline we see this week, where he shows genuine remorse over getting Ram getting swallowed up. Like, he actually feels bad about it. And we even see a scene later on that sort of really cements the OT3 for me. I had said a while ago, Otto, Garf, and Ram are my OT3. And there's this scene with the three of them that I was like, oh, that was hilarious. Like, it so perfectly shows off their different personality types. But there's also another thing that happens later that kind of throws a monkey wrench into that, where I'm like, oh, he's already part of a canon ship. Well, when have I ever let canon ships get in the way of my fanon ships? Because sometimes fanon is better. But yeah, Garf he's an interesting dude in as much as, like, you can read him like a book, but he's just sort of fun to have on screen. Plus, I mean, Nobuhiko Okamoto, what more can you say? I suppose we should probably talk a little bit about Satella as well, since she's the one who takes Garf out this week. By the way, she takes him out with ease, and keep in mind, this is the Garf that we saw easily tank, like, several dozens worth of people. And yeah, she just takes him out, like, no questions asked. Completely tears them apart, and it's interesting to me because she's absolutely playing favorites, right? Like, she kills all the Ryuzus, she completely, like, dices up Lasagna Boy, but doesn't kill Subaru. Now, we know that she has a thing for Subaru, but I do find that interesting, where it's like, oh, see, she's playing favorites. It feels like the show's really hinting. You know, it's like, she's playing favorites. There's a scene later where we see her face, and she awfully looks familiar. Subaru says something kind of interesting, and then he gets freaked out when he sees Amelia later. Very interesting. I'm not going to say nothing, but I am going to say, even as an anime only, I think I know where we're going with this. I think most interesting to me is that Satella is not attacking him even remotely. Like, she cradles him in the darkness, right? And she keeps hitting him with the I love yous, which is like, no thanks. like just imagine being in darkness, seeing the memories of people who got swallowed up by the darkness playing, like, in your mind as you keep hearing I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you over and over again. Yeah, no thanks. Nope. I don't care who it is. I don't care which waifu or husbando is saying it. That for eternity. No, I'm good. No, thank you. What's equally interesting to me, though, isn't just the Satella, like, seemingly hinting towards Amelia thing, is the Donna aspect of all of this. Donna seemingly knew that this was going to happen. Now, I wonder if the fact that Satella shows up has something to do with Donna letting loose some of the witches, but why would... I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that one. In fact, I kind of immediately regret saying that. But, like, maybe that has something to do with it? Because Satella didn't show up in the previous incarnations of that specific timeline, right? Like, in all the other timelines, she never showed up. So why is she here, right? Subaru even says, like, what the hell's going on? Why is she here? So that could have something to do with it, because that is, like, the only thing I could think of that changed in, like, between the timelines, is that the other witches showed up. But then again, they showed up within the afterlife, so I don't know why that would affect the present, or rather the real world. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, that I don't know if that's exactly it, but that's the only thing I could think of that's different. But that said, Donna did know something was going to happen. Doesn't matter how, but she knew this might happen. So the fail-safe that she had set up was the handkerchief. At least I assume it's the handkerchief, because it's basically a dagger. But I assume it's just that the handkerchief became sharp. So Subaru uses the handkerchief to stab himself in the neck. And he said, like, she knew this was gonna happen. Friggin' Donna, I knew this. And I guess this does justify a lot of people in the comments saying, like, I don't trust Donna. Like, I don't know why you like Donna so much. I don't trust Donna. And I'm like, bruh, have you seen some of my favorites? Like, my favorite characters don't necessarily have to be good people. Like, sometimes I like the evil characters because they're fun to hate. But with Donna, I don't hate Donna. I love Donna. And until she proves that she's evil, then, you know, I love to love Donna. But if she is evil, then yeah, sure, I'll love to hate Donna. Either way, I love the character. So, yeah, I just think the fact that she's, you know, a bit nefarious doesn't necessarily make her bad. You know, she knew something was going to happen, so she was smart and set things into motion, you know? That said, I really want to emphasize that, like, Subaru taking off the veil and seeing, like, the devastated look on Satella's face as Subaru begins to sort of, like, die. And not sort of die, absolutely die. She does look an awful lot like Amelia. Now, the effects were kind of like, it was hard to really get a good look at Satella. Once again, I'm sort of left like, I can't really do a design time on Satella because I can't really see. Even when we see when we see the veil come off, you still can't really see her. So it's like, well, I can't really do a design time, but I will say, just based off the line art, she does kind of look like Amelia. And Subaru even says, like, I will save you. Like, I promise I'll save you. And I'm like, okay, this man is vowing to save her as he dies. And when he wakes up and he sees Amelia, when he wakes up in the trial room, he's shaking. Like, you can literally hear his teeth, like, chattering. And his, like, hand is shaking as he goes to reach out to her. He can't even say Amelia because he's so scared. The man even, like, breaks down crying. And it's like, okay, I can't help but wonder if, like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, they've been really hinting, like, could Amelia actually be Satella? Like, maybe Amelia is Satella from, like, a different timeline? I don't know, but we're gonna have to wait and find out. That said, if you're concerned about the ship, don't you worry, they do have a shippy moment later under the moonlight, which is very cute. Next thing I want to talk about, Ryuzu, the many Ryuzus, and Ryuzu Bilma specifically. So, after Subaru wakes up, and he remembers the memories of being inside, like, the darkness that is Satella, he basically is, like, using that to find this, like, little secret area, right? And he goes in and he uses the crystal that he has, and it opens up this door where he sees, seemingly, our girl Ryuzu inside of this, like, big honkin' crystal thing. And it's like, that's weird, right? Obviously, that's a little strange. And he turns around, and there is Bilma. There's Ryuzu Bilma, and she refers to him as an apostle of greed, saying that she'll listen to him. And that's what was up with the tea. The tea not only kept Subaru's sanity when he jumped into the witch's graveyard, but also seemingly made him an apostle of greed, right? So that tea that he drank twice, and even Bilma's like, twice? Like, jokes aside, really? But yeah, so it's like, he drank it twice, so he is absolutely an apostle of greed. And we kind of learn a little bit more about Bilma and everything that goes on with these specific people. And I almost called them creatures, because they're not creatures, they are people, they're just clones, right? And supposedly the plan was to have a body that Donna could sort of, like, jump into and take over. And then these bodies would be continuously created in this sort of inside of Sanctuary, right? So the name is even more fitting now, the more I think about it. The idea that this would be Donna's Sanctuary. Did I say Satella earlier? I meant Donna. This would be Donna's Sanctuary, right? Like, she basically took this girl, Ryuzu Meyer, and put her inside of a crystal and began making bodies to which she could inhabit, and then just keep creating these replica bodies for herself. So that essentially this would become Donna's Sanctuary, where she could live forever. Like, she'd never actually die. And Subaru begins to question, like, maybe this is why, like, Donna took such a shine to him. The idea that they both could have been immortal, right? Like, Subaru is essentially immortal because of Return by Death. And Donna wanted to be immortal, hence all the Ryuzu clones. Which, again, I will say, a little interesting. Like, for the people who are like, I question Donna, I'm like, maybe you have a right to. Like, this is interesting. Maybe Return by Death was her design. I don't know. Like, we know that Satella's the one who is put Subaru under said curse, but maybe the curse was created by Donna. I don't know. Who knows? But I do think it's interesting the fact that Donna wanted immortality. Subaru has immortality. You know, just an interesting thought. Just an interesting idea. So yeah, Subaru even saying as much. Like, this makes a lot of sense. Maybe that's why she took a shine to him. And it also makes sense on a color psych idea, right? Because Bilma, as I'll be referring to her from now on, I guess, Bilma basically says, like, all of the Ryuzu clones are essentially like husks, right? Like, they just do a job. Like, they don't really have a personality out of the get-go, right? They're usually given a personality over time, but that's something that they have to work on and build on their own, right? So, like, Bilma, she's been around for 400 years, and she says she has no idea how many years passed before she really felt like she was properly alive. And again, color psych-wise, this makes a whole shit ton of sense, because all of the clones wear what? White. White is usually, like, white can be representative of pure, right? Like a pure thing, but it can also represent total emptiness. So I think the idea that the straight-up clones just wear this, like, white robe shows they're sort of empty shells, right? They don't have a personality yet. And that's something that even Bilma herself points out, the fact that they actually need to form hobbies, preferences, and names themselves to express their own individuality. So the hobbies, like, obviously Bilma has a hobby herself, like that being, like, drinking tea. She loves tea even though she doesn't need it. They are self-sustaining, so they don't need food or drink or anything, but Bilma likes tea. So that's a hobby she's picked up. Her preference is her black and pink robe and her name, Bilma. Garf even refers to the other clones as just empty, right? So again, the whole white robe thing, it makes a whole ton of sense. I really like that attention to detail. Y'all know me, I like my color psychology, so that was really, really interesting to learn about. And Bilma in general, I'm liking a lot more this week. I've always liked Bilma, but this week they really gave her, like, proper character development and, like, really showed that she's, like, especially by comparison to the other just, like, empty shells, she is so much more playful. Like, she actually feels human, right? And that's something that Bilma said, like, of course, took a lot of time. She was given the wisdom and personality to manage all these copies, so it makes sense that she'd have this sort of, like, not bubbly, but, like, calm and sort of guiding type of personality while still having, like, a bit of fun with it. She has a fun sense of humor. Even saying that Garf is, like, her lover, and that Garf would be upset that a relative of his, another apostle of greed, is seeing his lover in secret. And that's what I meant earlier when I said it seems like Garf might have a canon relationship. So it's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. Interesting. I guess my shipping senses are dulling, but yeah, I really liked everything they did with Bilma this week. I actually find her to be, honestly, I think the clone thing makes her all the more interesting. And of course, I'd love the character who likes drinking tea as their hobby, like, of course, right? But still, I thought it was worth noting. Bilma had a lot of interesting stuff this week. And finally, we have Subaru's new plan. Not his new plan, but his new plan. The new plan being go into the mansion by himself, which I'll admit I thought was very stupid at first. It actually is a very smart plan once we learn the exact idea that he has in mind, but at first I'm like, you're not going to bring anybody? That seems unwise. Subaru basically leaves a note saying that he's going to Sanctuary solo, right? He is bringing Patty, but, like, Patty's got to go everywhere, right? Like, Patty's our girl, so somebody's got to take him. So he's just bringing Patty, that's it, and he's heading off on his own. So the only human going, right? Like, or yeah, the only humanoid going is Subaru. And he basically leaves this note for Amelia just saying, like, hey, listen, I know you're going to be freaked out. Don't worry about it. I'll be back before you know it. Take care of everybody while I'm gone. Take care of yourself. I'll be back. Don't freak out. Basically just like, please don't freak out. I'll be back. He does bump into Garf on the way. And as we said, like, Garf sort of gets, like, a bad impression of Subaru, right? At least he seems to have one where Garf says, like, you know nothing about suffering and pain. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And Subaru's like, excuse me? Right? Because it's like, no, bro, I've seen hell. I've been through hell. And nobody else needs to see that. Just me. I'm going to protect you guys. That's what you can count on. I know that you're freaked out. You know I think I'm going to be some enemy to Sanctuary. That's not the case. If there's one person you can count on right now, it's me. Because I'm not going to betray Amelia. I'm not here to hurt Sanctuary. I know you don't trust me, but you can trust in that, right? And Subaru basically just laying down the law, letting Garf know what's going on and what time it is. So I really appreciate that. And then eventually the dude arrives at the mansion, and again, I'm like, this is a bad idea, because he asks Freddy to take Rem, Petra, and Patty back to Sanctuary while he stays behind. And I'm like, Subaru, this is a terrible idea, right? I'm like, this is an awful idea. You're gonna fight Elsa on your own? That makes no sense. And then Freddy says like, okay, well, I will eagerly await for your return to Sanctuary with Beatrice. And I was like, oh, your boy forgot about Biko. Whoops. Immediately made things go from like a bad plan to a really good plan. Because if there's nobody in the mansion, Elsa's gonna wonder what the hell's going on. So she's gonna basically probably stumble around the mansion for a bit. Maybe she'll know where the library is, but I kind of doubt it. We do know that she can burst into there. Like, we know that she can find the library. But if it's just Subaru and Biko, maybe Subaru can talk to Biko and say the friggin' code words to make Biko do the thing, right? Like, hopefully he actually remembers that this time around. But knowing that he can just talk to Biko, maybe they actually stand more of a chance, since Elsa can easily take out everybody else. If Subaru can get Biko to listen to him, and then him and Biko can get the hell out of there before Elsa even shows up, that is actually the best plan. And thankfully, Biko does seem to be in a much better mood than the last time we saw her. So again, I hope Subaru says the thing. Roseball said to ask the question, you know, like, I hope he remembers that shit. I hope Biko is cool. I want to know what's going on with her in general. Like, she keeps saying, like, and finally the contract will have ended after such a long, long time, and the fact that it's with you is a little bit ironic. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I need to know what's up with Biko. I need to know what's up with Beatrice. I hope everybody is just gonna get out of this okay. I do know that they said that it takes somebody with a great amount of mana to draw in all the rabbits, and now I'm realizing that might be Biko, and I hope Biko doesn't die in the process. I just hope we get out of this arc without anybody dying, which has been the case most of the time. But because it's been the case most of the time, and because Tape likes to break our hearts, I have a feeling that might not always be the case. So at this point, I'm just hoping everybody gets out okay. With that said, though, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then don't forget to boop that up snoot and share if you care. And of course, as always, I have to give a big, big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all of these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by checking out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. And the second is by hitting that join button for just a little bit more. And you get yourself a nifty badge next to your name in the comments and premieres, and some emotes to spam in said premieres. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit that join button or check out the Patreon link. Either way, it is super, super appreciated. And on that note, though, everybody, I am going to go, I'm gonna go lay down. I'm a little bit tired. But yeah, until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and you wash your dang hands.